Talk recorded live.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Genesis Science Fiction Radio Show, a service of the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website. My name is William Hayashi. I'm your host for this evening. This is the September 5th, 2014 edition, and we've got a twofer tonight, a talent twofer. We've got Scott Evans and Dewayne Copeland, and they are the director and producer, and probably wear other hats too, for the CB Nation Science Fiction series. Well, I mean, you do, right? Come on. You don't just do those two jobs. Exactly, because you know what? Sometimes there's just not enough money to go out there and buy Lucasfilm's, special effects for your stuff, and so you got to do what you want to do. Welcome to the show, guys. Are both of you out in California right now?
We are.
We are.
Okay, and just tell everybody one at a time who's who so they know which voice is which.
Dewayne, go.
This is Dewayne Copeland. How are you?
Okay, and then and so by default, the other voice you hear that's not mine, that'll be Scott Evans.
That's Scott Evans. Hello, everybody.
There you go. So, I heard it's a little hot out there.
Yeah, you can say that. You can say that.
And that whole drought thing, man. I mean, I'm in Chicago. About all I see from you guys is, okay, you've got bad drought, and you have a lot of rocking and rolling in the ground with different kinds of earthquakes. And my dad, he's Japanese. He came from the San Francisco Bay Area, and it was funny because way back in the 80s, we had an earthquake here in Chicago, and he was staying with me for a while. And it's funny, the earthquake happened here in Chicago, and the only way I noticed it, I thought a truck went by or something, but the water in my fish tank was trying to jump out. And my dad came out of his room, professorial Japanese type with his eyebrows way up by the top of his hair, and he said, "Did you feel that?" Because he thought, being in the Midwest, he wasn't going to feel that anymore. So I imagine you feel a lot more than get reported, right?
Oh, yeah. I was saying earlier, there are earthquakes like all the time. Sometimes it's just an aftershock to maybe an earthquake that was years ago. I've been in the kitchen, and like the whole building just shifted. It was one move, bam, and that was it. I've been at readings where one person will go, "Did you feel that?" And we're all going, "Feel what?" And
but
my first earthquake
true,
was go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, my first earthquake, I was actually at work. I'm a video editor at a news station, and the producer I was working with. I'm sorry.
No, I said right. Go ahead.
Oh, okay, all right. And everything shook. It was a pretty decent earthquake. Everything shook. He got up and ran out of the room, and I'm sitting there paralyzed. I'd been here like maybe a year, and this is my first time feeling that. Right, everything's shaking. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. Think Charlton Heston. What would he do? And yeah, and he left me, and that was the moral of the story. This dude left me. Freaking producer.
Man, that's
anyway.
sad. Well, let me start out with you, Scott. Where did you grow up? Because it doesn't sound like you're like a native.
Absolutely not. It's interesting. You're from Chicago, you said. I'm from East St. Louis, about, 3 hours from you?
Yep.
Right,
well, the way I drive, yeah.
2.5 hours. From East St. Louis, I've been out here in L.A. since 2000, so this is 14 years for me.
Yeah, and did you come... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no,
I was going to ask you, did you come out there for creative reasons or a job or something? What drew you out to that area?
A little of both. I had a job offer to edit a news station, which is what I was doing in St. Louis. And I've always toyed around with the idea of being in business in some capacity. And the opportunity presented itself, and I took it. And I never looked back. And I'm happy I did.
Very cool. And Dewayne, where did you grow up?
I'm from Arkansas, Crockett's Bluff.
Yeah, see, none of the audience claps because nobody knows where that is. Seriously, what part of the state is that?
Like the central part of the state. About an hour outside of Little Rock.
Okay.
It's a population of 16 million mosquitoes.
You've been saving that one up, haven't you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I mean, both of you grew up elsewhere. I mean, I could see how a job would draw you out there. Dewayne, like, what were you drawn out there for work, or was there school involved, or what's your story?
Well, my story starts in Dallas. Really, after college, I worked for IBM in Little Rock. Got laid off from there and moved to Dallas, and got involved in the independent film community there in Dallas while still working in IT. And while working in Dallas, an opening came available in Southern California for the company that I work for, and I took that opportunity to move out here. And I've been out here, at the end of this year, it'll be 17 years.
Wow. So, I mean, both of you are pretty much like, you know, they always joke about, well, nobody really grows up in California, which is, you know, obviously nuts. But, I mean, you're both transplanted. It sounds like obviously you both are employed and doing some pretty cool creative things. Let me go back to you, Scott. I mean, was film something that you were kind of interested in when you were younger? I mean, go ahead.
Yeah, I started, like most people of my age, I was influenced, obviously, by Star Wars. When I first saw it, I pointed at the screen and said, that's what I want to do. I didn't know what that was, but I knew I wanted to do that thing that they were doing. I mean, of course, I could differentiate between fact and fiction, but I want to do that thing. And where I'm from, that is not really supported. A career in the film industry is not really supported. So I got into theater, and I did that. I did it in college. I came out here really kind of to act, but I found myself being pulled behind the camera and being more attracted to the creative side as far as creating characters and realities and ownership and things of that nature.
So, Dewayne, you too? I mean, was it early that you were early on interested in film, or what happened?
I think mine has really always been computers. I remember telling somebody once, when I grow up, I wanted to build robot duplicates of the Super Friends, and I guess thereby save the world. I think CV Nation is probably the closest I'm going to get to doing that. But I've always been into computers, and the entertainment thing really, I guess, it kind of started in college. My last year, for one of my classes where we had to do case studies, someone in my group for the case study worked in like a media department at college, and we had access to equipment. So all of our case studies ended up on film. And one of them was a mockumentary, not a mockumentary, but a mock-up of Star Trek. One was a mock-up of The People's Court, where I played Judge Wapner. One was a mock-up of The Twilight Zone, and hopefully that one will never, ever see the light of day again. Following that, again, I went to work for IBM, and I started working on a multimedia project there, and I was like the multimedia expert for them. At the first place where I lived for IBM, I was involved with the access channel, the cable access channel there, and it's just grown from there. And then again, once I moved to Dallas, I got involved with a group there called the Cooperative of Black Filmmakers. Still friends with a lot of those. I hope they're tuned in. And it's just grown from there.
Well, I mean, it's kind of funny, and I only mention this because it seems like there is a commonality of draw. You know, I'm a science fiction writer, but also my first job in 1970, my first job, like a real job, was with IBM in 1970. And, you know, wow. I've been in IT for 44 years now. And it's like amazing, you know, because obviously everything's easy to me now, but I have done just like you guys. You know, I like the science part of computers. I certainly like the way we look at how computers can fill out, you know, a speculative fiction or a science fiction story, but I went the other way. I became a novelist late in life, which is really stupid because people are reading less and less. So this was just a dumbass decision on my part. But the movies I've done, none of them are science fiction. So things are different, but they're the same.
You think writing's hard? Try to make a black science fiction superhero story. To try to get eyes on that.
Well, here's the deal. I mean, Warner Brothers actually looked at my trilogy. It's called the Dark Side Trilogy, and I apologize for bringing me into this. But I mean, you guys are out there. You know stuff. And I'm not asking for anything, believe me. But basically, my story is what happens in America when they find out black folks have been secretly living on the backside of the moon since before Neil Armstrong got there. Now,
nice.
That's a story that's never been done. That's a plot that's never been done, and Warner Brothers was interested in it. But since it's a trilogy, they want to make sure that I don't do anything stupid in the third book, like have these black folks come back and kill all the white people in America, because they would consider that a bad investment. So I just got to sit here until the third one comes out. But I mean, it's interesting that minds like ours, and believe me, I'm not saying that I'm anywhere near at the capacity that you guys are, but there's similar circumstance that seems to draw people into, people like us into the creative arts at that level. And then, you look at CV Nation and things like that, and so you guys have managed to create, the embodiment of that kind of imagination, which I find highly cool, even though, starting with IBM in 1970 means I'm an old-ass, very old person. Still,
I thought I was the oldest person on this call. I guess not.
Well, yeah, I'm like, I'll admit to 83, but that's all I'll admit to. But seriously, so now when you started getting the creative urge, let's start with you, Scott, and not for any reason other than you're the first one on my piece of paper here. I mean, when you started doing the creative part of putting together, the kind of film that you wanted to put together, the kind of stories you wanted to put together, were they based in science fiction?
No, actually, the funny thing is I'm equally influenced by Shaft and certain films of that era as I am in Star Wars and sci-fi and fantasy. So I'm always I'm either at war with myself creatively, or I'm trying to marshal these two very disparate elements together and try to create something that's a blend of the two. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. It's
I started off doing
satisfying.
crime kind of stuff. Yeah. I started off doing like more crime fiction kind of things than anything sci-fi. I've always wanted to do sci-fi, superheroes, big budget, high end kind of action. But, always, of course, stifled by budgetary reasons and resources. I found myself doing these smaller, more character-y pieces. And now, with technology change and things becoming cheaper and, more less expensive and easier to use, I'm allowing my palette to grow.
Mm-hmm.
Or my canvas to grow, palette.
Well, or actually your tapestry.
There we go. I like that.
Okay. So now let's do this, because this is the important reason why you're here. I mean, you guys have put together something pretty cool with CV Nation. Why don't Dewayne? Why don't you go ahead and explain what it is for those people who haven't found you yet?
CV Nation.
Yep.
Enter a world where heroes are made, not born. There are no mutants, aliens, or accidents. All abilities are bought and paid for. Follow a team of superpowered enforcers as they fight crime and each other.
He does it so well.
All right. So he does.
I can't ever remember that. I can't ever remember that spiel.
That's the perfect elevator pitch too.
Right.
Thank you.
No, it is. And so, all right, let me ask this question. This is the big question. How did you guys meet?
Oh, I keep hearing that. Was it Doughboys Dozens?
It was Doughboys Dozens.
Okay. Was it his class?
It was there was a acting class that took place in this coffee house, South LA, back in, I guess, late 90s, early 2000s, by a brother named Eugene Doughboy Williams. He brought all of these, usually young black people together for this class every, I don't remember what day it was, Monday or Tuesday. And you would also not only get actors, but you would also get directors, writers, editors, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And it was a nice little collective that was, it was a nice collective. And that's kind of where we met. And we worked on a couple other projects that other people were doing together.
Oh, through Stuart. You know what? I helped Stuart with something. He borrowed your camera.
Exactly.
And then I started borrowing your camera.
But because I borrowed. I don't know. I got to look.
Because that's usually how movie-based networking goes wrong. Somebody borrows something of somebody's, and then it either doesn't get back in a timely manner or it gets broken, and then somehow the networking kind of falls apart. But I mean, you guys, when you met each other, did you have like an instant affinity? How do you grow a relationship like that and end up with something like CV Nation?
I think for us it was kind of gradual. I mean,
it was. It wasn't immediate at all. We had known each other for a couple of years before we started this thing.
Yeah. And I mean, just I rented his camera a couple of times for a couple of projects, and we'd run into each other at various places and stuff. And we live right around the corner from each other, so
right.
And we still do. Funny enough.
Yeah. Right in the same.
And we both moved, and we still live around the corner from each other.
Yeah. And I think I want you, Dwayne, if I'm not mistaken, you put out a call on a forum or something about why can't black people get together and do.
That was your line. What I did was early 2010. I collected a bunch of web series, science fiction web series that were out around the internet at that time. Put it all together in email and shot it out to a bunch of people. Scott wrote back and said, "Why can't some like-minded black folks get together and do something like that?" And then I responded, "What you got?" And he sent me a script that he was working on. I remember it didn't hit me, and I sent him a script that I had started called Soul Dragon, and he said, "Hey, can I take a stab at this?" And before I knew it, he'd written 3 episodes.
So it hit me,
and
obviously.
Yeah. So when did you guys? About how long ago was that?
That was 2010. We had a reading for it in like March, I think, of 2010, and we actually started shooting the first season, the first 6 episodes, in November of that year. We had a couple of setbacks, and we finally got the shooting done in June of 2011.
For the first season. Yeah. And, as these things go, just the setbacks continued even after we finished our actual shooting of it with post-production, effects, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, I edit. Both Dwayne and I both edit, but neither one of us did effects. So, effects artists, I love them, but my God, they are not cheap. We were able to borrow some effects. Some I had to get on YouTube and teach myself some stuff.
Right.
And we eventually got it out. It just took forever. We finally got them all out. And, we've been pushing this boulder uphill ever since. One thing that was really helpful for getting the first season done was the way in which we shot it. As opposed to kind of how we're doing it now, where we're really shooting like an episode at a time. The first season, we combined all the episodes, scheduled it as if it was a feature film shoot, and we shot the bulk of it over 2 4-day weekends, Friday to Monday, 2 weekends in a row. That got the bulk of the principal
photography done. We just had a number of pickup shots, in various places to do after that. And then, of course, the biggest thing was doing the editing and doing the visual effects.
Right, the post-production.
Mm-hmm.
Scott, why don't you let everybody know a little bit about the story itself? What was the etymology of the story?
Well, I took from that original script that Dewayne sent me, and I'm kind of interested in deconstruction to a point.
Okay.
Where I didn't want it to be like a typical superhero team show with big villains and heroes and these big sweeping operatic types of storylines. I wanted to keep it smaller, a little more personal. I wanted to try to marry bits of espionage and cop shows and military themes onto it.
Right.
And also, I kind of want to examine systems and like how some systems, they may work for the masses, but they may not necessarily work for certain individuals, and certain individuals fall through the cracks. But this system is still necessary, and it still sort of works. But does it work for everybody? So if it doesn't work for everybody, does it mean it works? Or maybe it doesn't mean it works at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, it sounds to me like you're talking about like a societal system, how that all works together, and whether it meets the needs of everybody, the majority, the minority, or something like that. Would that be fair to say?
Exactly.
Okay. And so, you put this together, and it sounds like by dealing with it on, dealing with your story on that level, you would probably end up with a more character-driven universe,
exactly. Right.
in which everybody's playing, and which makes it more personal. And also, let's be honest, if you can get people to identify with and tie into a character, then you're going to have returning views. People are going to keep coming back. And by building in characters that are three-dimensional, obviously there's a huge advantage, a huge marketing advantage in that too.
Well, some of the best reviews, if you will, that we've gotten have been about the character stuff, and less about the typical four-color comic book stuff. It's more about the drama between Panthers and Soul Dragon and Transguardian, that little awkward history, and City Wolf and some of the things he's going through, and it's all of the personal, small, dramatic stuff that people really, really seem to be drawn to and responding to.
Yeah, as a writer, that's very obvious to me. If you can get people to like your characters, the stories that are around them are kind of like they're like the background, the playground in which they get to do whatever it is they're going to do. And then that provides you with an opportunity to throw some curves in there in terms of something occurring that was completely unexpected, and people go, "Oh man, I didn't see that coming. I wonder what's going to happen." I mean, it seems like you've given yourself the maximum amount of creativity from which to manage this creative universe that you put together. Plus, it sounds very much like people are digging the fact that your characters are fully formed. They're like people. Right. People relate to them, and that's
as opposed to being bigger than life archetypes. That's one of the things I really love about the web series format is that we can do what we want to do. We're not beholden to corporate bosses. We're not beholden to focus groups. If we want to kill a character, we kill a character. If we want to go left, we can go left. If we want to go right, we can go right. And it's our story. I mean, of course, the downside is that there's no money involved yet, but the creatively, it's really fulfilling because we get to do what we want to do with them, and everybody just goes on for the ride, hopefully.
Yeah, this is also your built-in marketing too. because what you're doing is once you create an audience and your audience is big enough, then first of all, you become, if somebody picks you up, let's say somebody wants to do the series, the chances are you'll be able to maintain a little bit more control because you've already, you've got the proof of the principle. And the other thing is that once you have very well delineated characters, roles that they play, and people are into them, the smart production houses don't mess with what's working until you get some real idiot who comes in and says, yeah, but you know what, they need a space dog. and you go, and then you two look at yourselves. You have that WTF moment, and you go and you wonder what it is. And oh, he had a dog that he loved, and blah blah blah. You never find that out. But and it's kind of similar in writing novels too. If you get assigned an editor, essentially the editor pees all over your stuff a little bit so that it's partly theirs. And you are in and you are in the land of ego. Ego is the coin of the realm there. It's not, money is secondary next to ego. And that's tough. I mean, for you to develop your intellectual property to the point where it is profitable for you, that's smart business. And the spillover from that, what do they call that? The collateral, not damage, but collateral good part about that is you'll be able to maintain control
over it. Right. Yeah, the idea is to build the audience. So when they come knocking, and they will come knocking, we'll have a stronger hand at the bargaining table.
Absolutely.
So when they so they won't recast and make severe changes in the story,
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about process. Who does most of the? I mean, do you create? Do you write? Both of you write equally and go back and forth, or do you have kind of somewhat segmented roles in the creation of the the episodic nature of what you're doing?
Scott has written all the episodes to date.
Okay.
And then we talk about it, and so I have any input on it. He takes that and under advisement, and we proceed from there. I'm working on an episode that I haven't completed yet.
Mhm. And just so people know, Scott, the way I was told is that you do a lot of the writing and you do the direction, and then Dewayne, you're kind of on the production side. Is that kind of how you guys have split it up?
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, obviously, writing is writing. It's not easy. Well, no, I take that back. It's easy to write. No, it's easy to write, but it's not easy to write well.
Okay.
Because I have people who bring me their stuff and they go, hey, take a look at this. I've been working on this book. It's all about my life and, my interpretation and stuff like that. And the first thing I ask them is, so why is this compelling for someone to read? Because you're already boring the hell out of me now. But, I mean, writing, I'm not always nice, but writing is not easy. I mean, obviously, just look at the stuff that they spend big money on now. You look at something like, I don't know what the budget was for Pacific Rim, but it got made. It's not a very good story. It's derivative of all kinds of crap out there, but it got made. Look at 50 Shades of Grey. That's a horribly written story.
Yeah.
That's a horribly written story, but it got made because it got middle-aged white women reading it. They wanted the titillation factor, so they thought that there was a built-in audience. So essentially, you're doing the same thing. What you're trying to do is you're trying to build that audience, and you have a means, an end to your means, which is control of your product and control of your intellectual property.
Well, my goal is that I want to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, please.
Oh, nobody's talking to our audience. right now. Nobody's talking
Okay.
to the black comic book fan. Nobody's talking to the black sci-fi fan. As far as, the mainstream film community or comic book community, nobody's talking to us. And that's what I want to do. That's one of the goals of this show, is to hopefully provide that thing that's missing. And to talk to that audience, to serve that audience, just like Tyler Perry was able to tap into that Southern Christian, predominantly female audience that has taken him to where he is. That's what we're trying to do with this. We want to provide this kind of entertainment and these things that we've been talking about for years, decades, for us, for the black people. You don't see us. We're the sidekicks. Yeah, we're Falcon, we're War Machine, whatever. But it's never us. We never save the world. We never get the girl. And it's time. That's got to change.
Or if you save all of the bombers in Europe from being shot down the moment they give you the job, even then you're not. It was so hard to get that movie made. George Lucas had to self-fund because apparently for Hollywood, the low-hanging fruit, which is what I call the Tyler Perry crowd, the low-hanging fruit is still not enough. Well,
right. No.
Yeah,
I'm not being mean. I'm just trying to be real. He has a built-in audience. Tyler Perry is brilliant. He's got a built-in audience. Whatever he makes a ton of money off of it.
Money.
You can't.
They go to right.
Exactly. But you're right. Try to do the same thing for comic books, so that when something new from you guys comes out, it automatically has the same kind of market response that a Tyler Perry gets. That's a very powerful goal to go for, because again, like you said, nobody's filling that niche. And let me ask you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say about the Red Tails. One of the problems that I thought I saw with that was that film was marketed as a quote black film, and I think it should have been marketed as an action film, and then marketed like any other action film would have been marketed. For those studios that looked at it and said, no, we didn't want to do this, they were thinking black film as opposed to thinking it's an action film, and we can market it just like we would have marketed it's a World War II action film.
Right.
And a World War II action. Yeah, a World War II action film with heroes in it, genuine heroes. You didn't have to embellish the story. I mean, the number of bombers that were shot down after the Tuskegee guys hit the air was so low compared to, before they were on the scene, that it is a genuine heroic story of Americans. You don't have to even call them black Americans. They're just Americans.
Americans, right.
Exactly.
Because they were over there like, excuse me, as a side, my dad's family, the Japanese half, they were locked up in prison camps, in Utah and scattered all over the U.S., Tennessee, what have you. And the only way any of those guys got out of those camps was to join the Army, get in the 2nd Battalion, and go to Europe. Right. And they distinguished themselves, again, exactly like Tuskegee Airmen. They were the most highly decorated battalion in the existence of the Army, because they felt that they had to prove something. And, there's a sadness to that, and that is a legitimate part of the story, but yet it's a World War II story. These people came, they went over there and they proved themselves to be not only worthy, but, their performance was superior. Same thing with the Tuskegee Airmen. But I'm wondering, I'll be very honest with you, you see what kind of backlash we have, racial backlash we have in this country, because a half-black president basically destroyed the notion of white exceptionalism once and for all. And there's a whole lot of people, lighter than Harry Belafonte, who are not happy with that. So you wonder if you hate to think that something like that would have affected maybe funding a George Lucas movie. But then on the other hand, you have to ask all the questions. What if
well,
you
there's definitely
guys...
a ripple effect. There's definitely a ripple effect that we see happening with his position, his presidency. And you're right. And it extends to different, all of these different disparate industries. But how do we combat that?
Dude,
how do you fight
okay.
against it?
I think Oprah had the best statement on this, and everybody got mad at her. They actually got mad at Oprah, which cracked me up because, she's got a mafia from what I've heard. But anyway, the thing that she said was, unfortunately, in this day and age, in the 21st century, in order for, most of the bigotry and racism to go away, we just have to wait for them to die. Now, she said that, and a whole lot of people got upset about that.
That's going to be a long wait.
Well, it is. No, only till the 2040s. In the 2040s, Latinos will be the majority in this country.
Majority in this country, yep.
And that's going to be fun to watch. I hope my old ass is around to see that. But for you
remember
guys,
Star Trek? Do you remember the original Star Trek episode? Let that be your last battlefield. The one with the Riddler as an alien.
Oh yeah. The black and white face and the white and black face.
Yes,
one race had it one way, and one race had it the other way. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yes. Well, I think for me that's like kind of the perfect statement on how this is going to play out. It's kind of a pessimistic statement, but there it is, because to the crew of the Enterprise, they were the same race. They were black on one side, white on the other. And it wasn't until the end when the Riddler pointed out that, he was...
You calling that actor the Riddler?
It's Frank Gorsham.
That's who he is.
Frank Gorsham.
Riddle me this. So, pointed out, though, that, it's black on the left side or the right side. I forget which side he was now.
Right.
But it was like, as soon as everybody's the same shade of gray, then it's going to be, you've got, blue hair,
you're taller,
black,
you're shorter,
you're taller, 6 feet tall. There's always going to be something to distinguish you from somebody else, and we will find a way to pick on that distinguishment. I think I just made that word up.
Well, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think who was it? Red Fox said it best. He said, when we're all the same color, it's just going to be a matter of who washed. But okay, so let's get back to you guys, because we could wax political all night and not solve a damn thing. Let's talk about where you are with CV Nation. How many different episodes have you done so far? Because I want people to go out there and chase these down.
There are 6 episodes in season 1 and 4 episodes in season 2. And we are gearing up to shoot the 5th episode. And
let's see. That's right. You do have your YouTube channel, so people can catch it up there. So it's www.youtube.com/user, and then all one word, CV Nation Series. All one word, CV Nation Series.
You can also go to cvnationseries.com, and it drops you right there.
Okay, cool. And that's great, because a lot of people pick up this show as a podcast, so they'll be able to you'll still be able to get people there. And let's talk about the production part of it. I mean, I've shot shorts. I haven't done a feature. I'll do my first feature next year. But for you guys doing your production stuff I'm sorry?
I said congratulations and good luck.
Oh, well, you know what it is? People said, "Oh, look at the budget you got. You got all that money. I got a $2.5 million budget." And I said, "No. You were wrong. What this means is now I am $2.5 million in debt. I got to pay some people because they think once you get the money it's all over. But distribution is still hard from what I hear.
FreestyleReleasing.com. Check them out.
Okay. So
I haven't used them or anything, but check them out.
Okay, I will.
The distribution is a tough thing. That's the next thing that I think black people have to get control of, the distribution. Any of us can make a movie. Any of us can go to a store and get a Canon 5D, go and get Final Cut wherever they're on and make a film. Grab some actors, make a film on the weekends. How do you get people to see it? How do you get enough people to see it that's willing to pay for it, it's going to justify you making it and also putting some money in your pocket? We have to control distribution.
Yeah, and you have to pay people back. That's
exactly.
The bottom line. A lot of folks don't realize that, when you make a film and you borrow, let's say you borrow $100,000, since it's high-risk money, you're expected to pay back $135,000 back. Okay,
exactly.
High risk money costs you 35%, and that's not the kind of money that someone who's unknown can just go on Indiegogo or whatever the other ones are and get that kind of money. And the other thing people don't realize is once you go and you beg for money, every single person who gave you money is now a stockholder in your company.
In your company, right? Right.
Yeah.
Well, this is why distribution is key. We have to be able to get our films out where people can see them, where people will want to see them, where people will want to pay for them.
Right.
That's the only way it works.
Just to know about them.
Otherwise, it's just a hobby. It's just a really expensive, time-consuming, frustrating hobby.
Yeah, a hobby that will run you broke, and then you owe everybody in your family, and nobody wants to talk to you anymore. So you're right. But distribution is tough because it's controlled by two big entities. One is the entire studio complex. They control that, and their gatekeeper is the MPAA, the ratings people. Okay, and between those two entities, trying to get an independent production out there is practically impossible. It's not impossible, but it's practically impossible, and they do try to wear you down.
Right. Especially if it's seen in a way that's competitive.
Yeah.
The way because that marketing costs as much as the production.
It does, and it takes up twice as much time.
Right.
And the thing is if you're a small budget movie, you can't send out people. How are you going to get your people on the Tonight Show to talk about your movie? Well, you can't do it because nobody knows who you are.
Right. You need PR budgets.
Right. And so you guys are going about it the best way possible for an independent. You're trying to build an audience. And once you build an audience, a lot of that gets put to the side because, you have people who know about you, who know about your work, and obviously are invested enough in it that they keep coming back for more. What about how many? I mean, do you have any idea about how big your audience is right now? You're 10 episodes in or so. What kind of viewer stats do you guys have?
Not as good as I'd like.
Sorry?
Hopefully that will change after this interview.
We always wanted to be bigger. I don't know what the exact count is. I'm going to see if I can log in and get that.
Don't think that I'll do it all by myself because I have a tough time getting people to even read my books. So it's not me. It'll be you.
I make it a habit not to look at I call them quote unquote the ratings because it's depressing. Because I know it's a process. It's going to take a while, and we have to be persistent and consistent, and that's the only way we're going to build this thing.
So all those
I'm not
things.
discouraged by that.
Right. You know the level of quality that you want to put out there, and for those of you, please check out their stuff. Just do a search for CV Nation series, and you'll either be directed to their website or they've got their own channel on YouTube. And
check it out.
It's
free. No episode is more than about 12 minutes. You'll enjoy it. If you're into this kind of thing, you'll enjoy it. I promise you'll enjoy it. The writing, the acting. We got a great cast, some solid actors that really should be doing more. I mean, I'm thankful that that they're working with me, but they should really be doing a lot more. Derek Shawn, Sharita Monroe, Trisha Grant.
Oh, you're doing that.
Oh, yeah. What was I saying? Derek Shawn, Trisha Mann Grant, Sharita Monroe, Jason Sweat, Chanel Blake, Ryan Dabbs. These are our core cast. London Kim. I'm really grateful for these actors who will give me their time for like nothing, really. Some food and a pat on the back and a thank you. and they're there for us. And Derek is always out passing out cards, talking at the show, getting people to like our Facebook page, go on to YouTube, log in, check out our Twitter. We need your help. And I'm kind of rambling. I'm sorry. Let me back up.
No, it's okay. I mean, all of this is good because the fact of the matter is you don't get the support and you don't have a future if you don't have people checking you out. So obviously the best part about marketing is being able to get somebody exposed to your work.
Mm-hmm.
And if for people who don't know, like you said, you can put together an episode. About how long does it take you to do an episode?
All told, from post to production to pre-production to post-production.
Exactly.
Couple of months. Honestly.
Okay, so.
But that's not working on it consistently every day because we both both have full-time jobs.
No,
and,
I get that, but here's the thing that people probably don't realize, that the pre-production, writing, the pre-production, the filming, and the post-production is such a minuscule effort compared to the marketing when nobody knows who you are.
Exactly.
Yeah. Right.
People. Go ahead.
We are thankful for all the recognition that we're getting from you guys at Black Science Fiction Society. Also, we were covered in Jet magazine. That was an amazing find. Scott can tell that story here in a second. One of the fascinating things that I have found is if we just go and Google CV Nation series or CV Nation, it shows up in a lot more places than I would have thought. The Google it's all over the place. We've been mentioned in a lot of different places. It's really cool. And one of the really, really, really cool, and this is, Derek, if you're out there and you're listening, this is the coolest thing to have happen. Derek and I were at Comic-Con this past summer. We got into the Gaslamp Quarter early before the convention center opened, so we ducked into one of the hotels and just sitting in the lobby waiting for the floor to open. And this kid came and sat down next to us there in the lobby, and after a minute, he turned to Derek and said, "Hey, aren't you the guy on CV Nation?" I couldn't find Derek after that. He's been on Cloud 9 ever since.
Right. I mean, that's the kind of stuff that we live for. And it's the show. Listen, the show is an original show. It's characters who look like you. It's not, it's not nothing against fan film. It's not a fan film. This is a property that we can grow, that we can take and do things with.
Sure.
And it's quality. It's not, it's not a satire. It's not a parody. We take this seriously. This is our thing, our quote unquote our thing.
Let me ask you this about the stories though, because obviously. You guys are black, and the kind of the theme, the actors, stuff like that, they're black, but the quality and the stories are not necessarily black centric. You know what I'm saying? Some part of it is, some part of it is, but you're talking about decent action, you're talking about adventure, and which leads me to ask you, when you do the writing, Scott, when you're writing, are you thinking in terms of more black appeal or mainstream appeal to try to broaden your base? I mean, what kind of consideration, if any, because you may not consider that at all, but
I'm not. Only thing I'm considering.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. The only thing I'm considering is I'm writing things that I want to see.
Okay.
And I don't really have any interest in CV Nation being an issues-oriented black issues, the black community, the issues of our community. Sure. That's not that. It's a superhero show. It's an action show. It's a cop show. It's stuff that everybody can. I'm not writing it for mainstream audiences, but I have mainstream tastes.
Right.
So I'm writing.
No. That was my point.
What I want to. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't, it wasn't like, oh, do you have to do it this way or anything like that. I was just wondering because, you know what, a lot of people get better crossover reaction when it's just good. If it's just good and it just happens to have black characters,
black people in it,
then,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And so, the question was just, I threw it out there because to let people know what your process is. Your process is basically you want to put together a good story. And,
exactly.
And the appeal, whether it goes, mainstream, if it's if you get like for my demographic for the books, mostly white women are reading them. I can't figure that shit. I mean, I can't figure that out at all. Honest to God, man, I can't figure that out. But then, I wrote it one way and it came out exactly the way I wanted it. And so that's why I asked the question for other people, what is your consideration? Your consideration is story first against this universe. And in this universe, in this creative universe that you got, you have people of color. Okay? Right. And so it's not like, oh, I'm writing me a black series or anything like that. You're writing a series of great stories that happen to have black characters.
Black people.
And I think
right. Yeah, I'm a black man. I'm probably gonna be a black man until I die, unless they change something. But I want to see myself or characters that look like me or represent me doing these kind of things that I grew up watching.
Well, sure. Instead of like,
It's not, instead of everything being about some kind of issue that's directly related only to our community.
Well, and we all laugh about it. We laugh about it, but I mean, what kind of views do we have? What do we see? Obviously the big joke in the 60s and 70s was, the black character, except for the woman who was on the radio all the time on Star Trek, was usually the guy who beamed down and got killed off before the first commercial, wearing that red shirt. So and the paucity of black characters in science fiction up until just recently is something that even whites have acknowledged. They have to acknowledge. Well, and that message. What is that message? Was that message? Well, they don't plan for us to be around. No.
Like an old Richard Pryor bit. Yep. About Logan's Run. I don't think they plan for us to be in here.
Exactly. But the other thing is,
listen, that's not to disparage black stories. I'm not trying to disparage black stories at all. I'm not criticizing them, any of that. That's fine. It's a big playground we can all play. But I'm a genre cat, and that's what I like, and that's what I want, and I see a lack of that in our entertainment that's created by us. And I'm trying to. I want to help fill that void.
No, that's good because somebody I guess handed my book to Spike Lee and he said, "Oh, is this science fiction?" And she said, "Yes, it is." He says, "Oh, I don't do that."
Oh,
see, that's what I'm talking about. Like we're not allowed to. Why are we not allowed to expand our vision, our viewpoints?
Exactly.
Why does everything have to be so strictly related to the specifically African American experience? It's all our experiences.
Yeah, I agree with you, but when you talk about the people who control the money, I mean, okay, let's talk about the Sci-Fi Channel. Since they film everything in Vancouver, ain't a whole lot of us up there. I've been there.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because you can sit down in Starbucks on a very busy street in Vancouver, and if you sit there long enough, you're going to see probably a dozen people that you've seen in every single Sci-Fi Channel series. I mean, if you're an actor and you want to be seen you want to do work, move to Vancouver because they have a very small pool of actors who get a lot of work. Now, I have not
should I log
seen
on to Travelocity and find my ticket right now? Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that because you know what? First of all, I'm not moving up there. First of all, the taxes are too high. I don't know what to say behind that, but the taxes are way too high.
Right.
Canada. But
right.
you get good benefit. You get good benefit. You get great health care.
Great health care.
And Vancouver's gorgeous. The weather's nice. You don't get much snow. After the last winter we had here in Chicago, it almost killed me.
Insane. Right.
I was thinking about, I tortured myself. You know how you have the Weather Channel, you go to their website just to see what the weather is for the day? I have it pull up 2 cities. I had Chicago up there, and to get off my ass and do something, I had the other little panel show me what the weather was in St. Croix in the Virgin Islands. Because sometimes
right.
I'm just going to have to give it up. All right, so you guys are out in California. You're working in that environment. You're looking at the kind of entertainment that's going on. You guys went to Comic-Con. I think that's so cool that somebody did recognize you. That's a great moment, and that's an unforgettable moment. And so now it's looking like you're starting to get a little bit of that notoriety.
No, good to go.
Okay, could you grab me?
God,
I'm sorry. You okay?
I think he may have gone back to work.
Oh, okay. Well, then you're going to have to carry the ball.
Okay.
So anyway,
all right,
you're out.
Unfortunately, let me just interrupt you.
You have to go?
Time. Yeah, I got to go. So, hey, again,
No.
I appreciate this opportunity. Thanks to everybody that's listening. That's on the chat. Please check us out. Again, thank you. We can't do this without you, and I really appreciate it. And again, thanks to Black Science Fiction Society. Thank you, brother, for bringing us on, and forward.
It's a pleasure.
I'll talk to you later.
We'll have you on again. So
all right, cool.
We'll catch up with you soon. All right, thanks a lot.
All right,
Scott.
thanks, man.
Okay.
All right, peace.
Okay.
All right, so man, I thought he'd never leave us alone. No, I'm just kidding. I'm so kidding. You know that. But okay, so you handle the production side, and
yes.
and if we were to be honest, once you have your actors, once you have your method, once you kind of have your flow, the part that is I think the hardest is what you have to do, because not only are you producing, but I would imagine you're also handling marketing and trying to get the word out. Is this part of like and I know it's an everyday as you breathe thing. You go, okay, I'm going to run into these people. I better have my cards, better have this, better have that. Tell us a little bit.
We have cards. I have cards made up. I had cards made up specifically for Comic-Con last year. I had a new set made up for Comic-Con this year.
Right.
Derek was a champion at Comic-Con this year because he was passing out cards and actually, you stopping and talking to everybody. I saw a huge number of new subscribers following Comic-Con, so that helped. It helped tremendously. I've also used Facebook. You can do a paid promotion on Facebook. I've not done that a lot, but I have done that a few times just to see, how well the post actually gets out there. And it did. The particular post was the one for the Jet magazine coverage, and
Sure.
It did get out there further. But yeah, it's an uphill. It's like rolling a boulder of kryptonite uphill.
All the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Under a red sun.
And for you now, I mean, you've been doing this for a few years now. Take us, and if I may ask, do you have a regular, make my money and pay my bills kind of job?
Yes, I do computer support for a financial services company.
All right, so you've got this what they call a square job, where you're doing that. Well, I mean, yeah. If I had to live off of what I make as a writer, I couldn't afford to have a phone to do this show. So I mean, I know it's very hard to get that kind of momentum, but it sounds like you also used Comic-Con to its best possible manner in order to get your name out, and it does take pressing the flesh. How were you out for all the days? What kind of hours did you guys put in?
I was out for all the days, and for me, the best use of Comic-Con is actually it's the individual talking. We don't have a booth there. If we had a booth there, that would actually be the best possible scenario for Comic-Con. So one of the things I've noticed that the people who are outside just passing out flyers get ignored. If when you're crossing the street, every single flyer that's been passed out is on the street. So that's not ever been really an option for me, to stand outside and hand stuff to people passing by who aren't inside. Mostly it's, I'm walking around as a fan, looking at all the booths, buying things, and as I come across people and, we talk about their product, whatever, they'll invariably ask, what do you do? Because I actually have professional status and my badge says pro, and lots of people ask, what are you working on? And that's the opportunity that you then have to tell them about. And actually I delivered that elevator pitch all the time, and everybody's always impressed by that. But yeah, that's just one by one, rather than standing outside trying to hit everybody with a postcard that's just going to end up in the street and be swept away at the end of the night.
Yeah, I forget what comedian said it, but they said that when someone hands you a flyer or postcard or something like that, essentially what they're saying is, here, you throw this out.
Oh. Yeah.
Well, it was kind of harsh, but it's true. I mean, look at how many you see gathered on the ground around, somebody, or just down the street, or look at the nearest trash can, and it doesn't seem to be. It's a cheap way of doing things, but it doesn't seem very effective. I think the pressing the flesh that you do is great. Hang on a second. You're listening to the Genesis Science Fiction Radio Show, a service of the Black Science Fiction Society.com website. And currently we're speaking to Dewayne Copeland, and he is the producer of the CV Nation series. It's a webisodic video series, and you could check it out either on YouTube or go to cvnation.com to check out the
cvnationseries.com.
Yeah, cvnationseries.com. And I'm thinking, would it be better for people to go and check your work out on YouTube so that you kind of crank up your hits, or does it matter to you?
If you go to cvnationseries.com, at the moment it drops you onto YouTube.
Okay. All right, so that's great. And so I'm sorry. So we were talking about kind of like the marketing aspect of it. It sounds like you're kind of in a one-on-one mode, just to try to pick up people who can get interested. What do you have a longer term kind of marketing plan for building up, the kind of audience that you really want to get?
The best marketing plan I think we could have is to simply keep doing it better, so that the word of mouth builds. I think a lot of what we're getting is word of mouth recommendations. People will be like, "Hey, have you seen this?" And then it gets out. And again, I see when people subscribe, I actually get an email letting us know that there's a new subscriber. We've also been covered in a few other conventions. The ECBOC, East Coast Black Age of Comics Convention, aired all 6 episodes of the first season this past May, and we had a huge influx of viewers after that. And there was another festival, I don't have the name of that one, that also aired a number of episodes, and we got a huge influx. So it's building little by little, and I think the biggest thing we can do is to just get better and keep doing it. And the work will speak for itself.
So I mean, the key to anything, obviously, is keeping up the quality. Sorry, I was reading something. Keeping up the quality, and when you look at Scott's writing, what comes out on the episodes is very compelling. Do you guys have kind of like a defined arc of where the story is going to go, or is it a little more short-termed for the time being, because you might be trying to get maybe, I don't know, adjust your story to the times or anything like that? It doesn't sound. I mean, obviously, it doesn't sound like it's at all about a current events or a I forget exactly how Scott put it, but it's not the kind of thing where you're trying to make a statement. Yeah, you're not trying to make a statement, but you're trying to put together compelling storylines. So do you have a long arc?
There is not at the moment a long arc built. We have the backstory, how the CV Nation came to be, and just in short, because it hasn't been put out there a great deal, and I'm not going to do a lot of spoilers, but the CV Nation is actually termed the Nation of Abilities. That's what the actual official name of it is, and it is a domestic dependent nation, in much the same way that the Native American nations are. They're their own country inside the United States. There will be more to build. That's the only spoiler you're going to get. There'll be more to build on that as it goes along. We're trying to work that. What I didn't want to do. We talked about this. I didn't want to have an episode where somebody comes in and sits down and explains the entire history.
Yeah, all that exposition.
So we're working that in little by little to so you can see the tapestry built. So obviously all the characters know where that history is. Now there are episodes that have been written that essentially follow up on an element that was introduced in the first episode and then followed up in, I think it was episode 4 or was 5? It was episode 5. Episodes 1 and 5 had an element that there are other episodes written to kind of follow through on that storyline. That's coming in season 3. We're actually planning to do an Indiegogo campaign to raise funds for season 3, and that's where we're working on all of that right now. Following that, I think we can probably take a closer look at okay, let's maybe create an arc and go through. It's just been, those were episodes that were written that we didn't get to in season 1. So we will go ahead and knock those out and then look at, putting together one of those longer term arcs.
Yeah, but for the time being, you've got plenty of story to put out there. It's not like you're going to go wanting at all.
Right.
And so fans of the series can expect you to be producing all along. Scott mentioned it takes about 2 months, start to finish, to get an episode online. Where I know you've done 4 episodes for this season. Are things still pretty much on that kind of a schedule? Every couple months you can pop up a new episode, or do you have some sort of other timeline?
We don't have a solid timeline because, for instance, the last 3 episodes we were actually working on pretty much simultaneously. Like this weekend, when we could get these actors together, we'd shoot this scene for this episode, and then 3 weekends later, we could get these actors together, we'd shoot these scenes for this episode. And then once we had all the scenes together, then Scott starts in on the editing. And then we talk with a visual effects artist. We've used a number of them, who can come in and put in the effects. Plus, Scott is doing a lot of the effects himself. We have one that's coming that we're working on now. We do have a constraint with one of the actors, so we're going to try and get that shot, here pretty soon.
Sure.
But it's not scheduled yet. So we still, it's everybody's got day jobs and the jobs, and we're working around everybody's schedule because again we don't have the budget to to go in and just like knock this out on a typical 5-day Monday to Friday schedule.
Sure. And okay, so for post-production, getting it done, getting it up and everything, it's not like you're every Friday night we've got a series or whatever, but it also sounds like, based upon the kind of responses you're getting, you do have an audience that waits for these episodes. Jarvis, the originator of BlackScienceFictionSociety.com, says he can't wait, because he likes that instant gratification thing. He's a binge watcher.
Okay.
So he wants to see this happen, in his own timely fashion. And I'm sure a lot of people would love to see stuff come out, much, much closer together, quicker, faster, the instant gratification thing.
We would love that too.
Oh, I'll bet. So, which brings me to ask, what kind of feedback do you get, online when a new episode comes out? I mean, do you get a good response? Do you see, do you see a lot of comments on it? What goes? How do you judge the fan reaction to a newly posted episode?
The reaction from our true fans it's great, and they post the comments like loving it. This is great. There's some people who have who have gotten into the characters and will post a character specific comment. There's a couple of random comments I've seen. We just kind of let them stand because they're random, and I don't know exactly what's going on with that. But the true fans, the fan reaction is great. And whenever someone covers us in an article or a review, we also get great reaction from that. So that's encouraging, and that makes us want to keep going and makes us want to deliver this on a more timely basis. And, hopefully as we progress, we'll be able to do that.
And do any of the fan comments, obviously we can't ask Scott this, but I mean, do you think any of the comments that he gets about, a certain episode or anything like that, how responsive are you guys in maybe trying to meet the do you take any suggestions? Do you have, I don't want to say ability, but are you prone to look at some of these suggestions and go, maybe we should integrate that? Or are you so new and kind of early in your arc that you really want to establish the characters, the universe, and whatnot, and then you can maybe be a little more responsive to what your fans may be saying?
I have not seen anybody truly suggest story ideas.
Okay.
And I won't discourage that, but I don't think that we, pretty much like anybody else, I don't think we would be, it may be coincidental that we're already planning something that somebody might suggest. I don't think we necessarily actively incorporate somebody else's suggestion into the story. Just simply because, it's a credit, credits and all that. I don't want to take somebody else's idea because thinking you can go do something with your own idea on that. That's
right.
Yeah. But most of the comments are like, great job, loving it. When's the next one coming up? Those are most of the comments that we get.
And how many unique visitors do you get, when you post up an episode now? What's kind of like the viewership?
I actually don't know how many unique visitors. I haven't delved into the YouTube statistics that closely to see. I did look a short while ago. We have like 657 subscribers to the channel. The view counts for the episodes, they've gone up and down. I think some of the episodes have reached 2,000 views. Some of them are still in the hundreds. So it's a wide variety, and I don't see a pattern for the view count. But basically, all we're going to concentrate on is keeping the episodes coming, keeping the awareness, continue to get the awareness out, and then let the work then speak to people, subscribers. I believe that when people like what they see, they will subscribe, and once you subscribe, you get a notification when something new goes up, and then you come back and view.
Okay. We got a couple questions here. One, which I have no idea where this is going, but someone wants to know, are you a Mac or a PC guy?
I have 2 PCs and 3 Macs. Only, let's see, one of them isn't working. So the answer is yes.
And then the other one wants to know, do you guys have your own Twitter feed?
It's CV Nation Series.
CV Nation Series. All one word.
Yeah, Scott does all the tweeting, but pretty much everything is CV Nation Series, all one word. So we're on Facebook, CV Nation Series. We're on YouTube is CV Nation Series. The website is cvnationseries.com. Scott started a Tumblr, which I don't do a lot of Tumblr, but I imagine that's CV Nation Series as well. Thank you. Somebody put it up there.
Yep.
What else? I think.
Well, I mean, that's just smart branding. You're sticking with the one thing, and that's where everybody can find you.
And it would have been just CV Nation, but CV Nation is a resume site. At least it was when I did the registration.
Okay. And the other thing is, people, you've got CBS getting ready to change their name, so there's a lot of CV out there.
Oh yeah. What are they changing their name to?
I think, I don't know, maybe CBS Health or something like that. They just quit selling cigarettes, and essentially what they want to do is they want to break into the retail healthcare market. So, like, you can go in there and catch a quick doctor or get a shot or whatever.
Okay.
Again, marketing. Okay,
yes.
So let's briefly show people exactly how exhausting your life is. Take us through. Well, I mean, it is, dude. People have no idea how for people who are not creatives and don't have a big, let's say a big publisher, a big studio, a big anything behind them.
Right.
It is back-breaking work, and not so much in the lifting, but in the amount of things that you have to do. Take us through, like a typical week. How many hours do you think you spend doing marketing and networking for CV Nation?
Wow. That's difficult to pin down because CV Nation is not the only thing I'm doing.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, you've got a job, you've got a tech support job. Do you have a family?
I'm not married. I don't have any kids. So for that, no. But I'm writing a novel.
There you go.
I help other people with their films.
Right.
Let's see, I've edited 3 comic book series. They're all up on Barnes and Noble. Graphic novels. Those are all graphic novels.
Sure.
I do CG art. And right now I'm actually working on a project with a CG artist. doing a personal project that hopefully will spin off into something else. What else?
Just so that you know, in the chat room, somebody reminded all the women out there that you're single.
Hallelujah.
To privately hook up with Dewayne Copeland, yeah. I'm not going to put up an email address or anything like that. But of course, you know, that's also a component of your life too. You know,
someone asked about aliens in the chat room.
Right.
Only green ones. Only green ones.
Racist. Man,
hey, Captain Kirk is a hero.
That's true. He took them all. He took on all types. So you've got a very, very full life, and yet you still have to do the marketing. You still have to fit all that in. You still have to make it all work.
Yeah.
And push forward this big thing. I mean, the potential here is huge.
It is, and we're hoping for the huge end game. You know, there are so many stories out there of this YouTube video getting the notice of, you know, some individual and then getting, you know, launched into something larger. You know, plug for somebody else. My friend Dennis Dortch, he has Black and Sexy TV. They've gotten, I think, which one was it? I forget which one of their web series. He has several web series, but one of them is picked up for development by HBO.
And that wouldn't have happened if they didn't have the traffic that they've got.
Exactly.
Yeah. Let's flash forward maybe 5 years. In 5 years, if things go,
I'll be an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Oh, by then you're an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Exactly. S.H.I.E.L.D.'s reformed. I'm the guy with the patch.
Okay. All right.
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
5 years from now, he's going to be old 5 years from now. You know, they may be looking for a new one eye. You know. And was it you who said you started out thinking about acting, or was that Scott?
That's Scott. My foray into acting was in Dallas in the movie. I'm actually in Luke and Owen Wilson's first feature film, Bottle Rocket. I'm at the end, and that was kind of after that experience. I'm like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna be behind the scenes. I was living in Dallas. I submitted a photo. It was one of those open call things. It was in the newspaper. I submitted a photo. I got a call from the casting director. It's like, hey, do you still have your mustache? I had a mustache then. It's like, yes.
Right.
Okay, we'll cast you as a prison guard. So we shot in a real prison in Venus, Texas. I got up real early, took the day off from work, drove down to Venus, Texas, stood around. I went out for the first shot. I'm dressed as a prison guard. I'm supposed to be patrolling outside the fence. I'm out there for the first shot. You know, of course, you're standing around. They do nothing. I don't think they shot anything. I'm heading back to the staging area for all of the extras, and somebody yelled out, "Send him back to wardrobe. He's an inmate now." So I go back to wardrobe. Turns out for a prison movie, they only hired 2 black actors, and one of them was a guard. So I go back to wardrobe, change into the inmate outfit, and then of course I get harassed by the actual prison guards. Me and the other guy, all the other people that are dressed as inmates, get because we're actually shooting in a real prison. They keep reminding us not to get mixed up with the residents, as they call them. We're moving through, and they're like, "Oh, assume the position," and then laughing off as if it was a funny thing. And I'm like, "That's not funny." But
well, you're lucky you got out. That is Texas.
Exactly. However, one thing about at least about that was that they only hired 2 of us for a prison scene. They ended up hiring a teamster and a caterer. to fill out because all the other actors they hired for this were white actors. I remember I did a music video for somebody who was out there for the 2 days and never got seen in anything. Mm-hmm. But you can see me I'm at the end of the movie. Obviously, one of them goes to prison, so we're in the prison scene. I'm actually the one who's acting badly in that scene. I'm surprised the scene is still in the movie. It's so bad. Then later, everybody's in a straight line marching back into the prison. One person steps out of line. Guess who that was?
The black guy.
Well, actually, in this one, they didn't hire. All of us were black except for the actual star of the movie, because this was the one where they didn't hire enough black actors, so they brought in the caterer and the teamster. I don't know who else to fill out. Actually, you know what? There was a real cop. There was a real cop on the set. He was actually one of the inmates too, because I got handcuffed with his handcuffs. The only time I've ever been handcuffed.
I wish I could say that. Yeah.
Unreal.
It is, and it's chilling. It can be chilling, because you look at One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. If somebody decides you're an inmate, that's a whole lot of paperwork and stuff that has to go on before you can get your butt free.
Oof.
I mean, think about that. Filming in a real prison. I couldn't do it. You're a better man than I am, because seriously, I'd be scared that somebody would forget. Wait, no, he's an actor. Really? No, I am an actor. Honest. I came in with the crew. Yeah, right. Sit down, buckwheat. So your one acting experience said, no, this is the wrong end of the camera. I'm gonna be in production.
There were two. I did another film in Dallas called Late Bloomers. And on that one, this is actually really funny. I wore this really loud shirt. It was a basketball game. And I'm was chatting up people in the stands, and the first AD was watching me, and he said, "Hey, do you want to be a scorekeeper?" So me and two other guys came down. We were scorekeepers for this particular basketball game. And while they got plenty of screen time, if you blink, you will miss me.
Well, again, was this being shot in Texas?
Yes.
Yeah, you're lucky you didn't get shot on camera. That's all I have to say about that. It's funny because there's a good chance. I've promised that I would never go to Texas because, for a lot of political and sociological reasons, I just don't want to have to visit down there. And there's a good chance I may have to do a project down there. And so I'm saying to myself, okay, so you make this money or you don't because you don't want to go to Texas. And, I would say want to make the money,
Make the money. I mean, the media is making it all out to be like it's the Wild Wild West. And it's only the Wild Wild West if you end up in that circumstance. But literally, you can end up in that circumstance pretty much anywhere. There was a helicopter over flying over this neighborhood shortly before the call started. And this is a quote safe neighborhood, end quote.
Yeah, and then Chicago's been getting a bad rap lately. Even though crime is down here in Chicago, murders are down, everything is down. You don't see any of that on the network news. It's like the Republican paper here, the Chicago Tribune.
Mm-hmm.
It's like they have a part on their website, just on the front page of their website, just for the scorecard of how many people get shot, things like that happen in this town.
Wow.
It's never mind. So let me ask you this: when you kind of decided to gravitate toward doing the production stuff, was that before? It sounds a little bit like that was before you moved out west.
It was.
Yeah. And
it was.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
And right now, your main thing is you're doing tech support for a larger company. do you have, and I'm imagining that you're like anybody else, any other creator, you would love to be able to do what you love for a living rather than anything else. As you think about that, have you imagined when that time is going to come, or it's just keep plugging away until the time comes? You know, there are a lot of people. Go ahead.
I'm actually actively working on that now. Although it's not a lot. It's not. I can't talk about it, but I'm actively working on that now.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's like living the dream, isn't it?
It is. That's the plan. I want to get to that position where I'm making money while we're, sitting here talking.
Mhm. Yeah, I'd like to do that too. I mean, I think, as a creative, I dream about the time that, enough people buy, the work that I do, books and movies and things like that, that I will be able to devote 100% of my time to a creative endeavor, to writing, because that's pretty much what I do. I don't want to be behind the camera, and the few times I've been in front of the camera, it's like hurry up and wait, and having produced a couple of movies, the hard work is just sitting around and waiting for things to happen, and that's a tough way to kind of to do it. And as an actor, but some people do it fine. I mean, but let's be honest, in most acting, there's not a lot of heavy lifting. There's a certain amount of notoriety that goes along with it. I mean, you're not behind the camera. You're in the production side of it, and it seems like you've found your niche. Would you ever entertain, maybe, let's say the series gets a little more popular, do you think you're going to pop up in front of the camera again?
I have no active plans to pop up in front of the camera in CV Nation. There is another project that I had written. I actually created a role for myself in. I don't know when that project will actually get made, but I've thought about it.
Well, being out in the Los Angeles area, being out near Hollywood, let's talk a little bit about the politics of Hollywood and getting anything done. As a black man, there are certain things that seem to be problematic in making it easy for black talent to get black projects done, or mostly black, and they may not even be a black project. It just happens to have mostly black actors. What's it like, being a black man in that huge industry out there?
It's let's see. One thing I guess I'll start with before I actually answer the specific question you asked. Mm-hmm. Getting projects made. I guess a couple of things I wanted to say on that was, while it is, difficult for black people to get projects made, it's difficult for black people to get black projects made. It is also difficult, I've noted, for some white people to get projects made as well, even good ones. So Getting projects made, while we always talk about it in the terms of our sphere of getting our projects made, it's difficult for a lot of people to get projects made. Mm-hmm. We just feel we feel, and rightly or wrongly, we feel it's more difficult for our projects to get made. I myself want to take a different path, I think, than what would be considered a standard path to getting a project made. There's all kinds of seminars you can go to about how to do an independent film, all kinds of books on there about, how to do an independent film. And all these are things that people have done in the past in getting an independent film. And all the people that I've talked to who have done, let me rephrase that, all the people that I know personally who have feature films they haven't really made the kind of money that you would hope to have made back from a feature film. And the ones I know what I know of the process is it was sort of a traditional, take it to a distributor, it's a video release type of release. And I'm pretty sure the distributor made money, but that money, in the accounting process did not make it back to the filmmaker. Today's digital age is going to let you become an entrepreneur. And that's the path that I'm looking at taking. For me, it's less about taking my script and pounding the pavement, attempting to get a production company to take a look at it, or attempting to get an A-list star attached so that I can go to a production company and go, hey, I've got Morgan Freeman attached to this project, or attempting, all of those things that people typically try to do. I want to eschew, I get to use the word eschew, I don't even know if I'm saying that correctly, eschew that and sort of forge my own path using the digital tools. The distribution company that I mentioned earlier, Freestyle Releasing, I haven't dealt with them. I've only read about how they work. They are not a traditional distribution company. Essentially, you pay them a distribution fee, and you gain access to the theater chains that they have. So you're not, under a typical distribution deal, you go to the distributor, you give them your film, they put up the money for print and advertising, P&A, which films are going digital now. Theaters are going digital, so there's probably less of a cost for print than there used to be because it's going to be delivered to them digitally. But they put up the money for the P&A, so all the money comes back. How do these things go? They put up the money for the P&A, which I believe that they charge you for. You'll split. There'll be like a, I'm making these numbers up essentially, but like, 60-40 split. You get 40%, but then all the expenses that they incurred come out of your 40%. That's how they ensure that you don't see any money.
Right.
Freestyle.
And you wanted me to call these people why?
No, Freestyle doesn't do that. Freestyle.
Oh, okay. Freestyle doesn't.
Freestyle is the one you pay them a fee. The money that the film makes in the theater comes back to you. You, of course, they're not putting up the print and advertising. You're putting up the money for your advertising.
Right. And what do they call it again? Just freestyle?
Freestyle releasing.
Freestyle releasing. Okay.
Yes. So that's one of the companies I've been sort of researching. Seeing how it goes. Again, I have not contacted them or used them. I just know that they're out there, and that was the service that they provide. That's essentially the George Lucas distribution deal for episodes 1, 2, and 3. At the time, 20th Century Fox owned Star Wars, and I believe maybe Empire and Return of the Jedi, but they did not own episodes 1, 2, and 3. Lucas paid a distribution fee for them to distribute the film. That's how I understand that worked, based on some things I've read. If of course that's different, somebody can let me know. But I read something a while back on that that's how his distribution for those 3 movies worked, and that's essentially what Freestyle is doing. That's just one of the paths that I think you can look at doing something differently from the way it's been done in the past. And that's the kind of the road that I'm on. So I'm hoping that the next time you ask me the question about it being difficult to get a film made, I can go, no, because I didn't have to go to someone else to get the film made. I got it made. Right. I got it made, and then through these new tools, we got it out there.
Yeah. With the current digital tools that are out there, getting a movie made, getting a movie made is more accessible to people because Well, because the tools are so improved, and like
That's
you
true.
said, I'm getting ready to get a Canon D5 Mark whatever is out. I think it's the Mark III is out, and I'll be able to do still. My still camera is a film camera, and I can't find any film in this city.
Okay.
But if I get that camera, a lot of my associates use either the earlier model or that model, and they are making Hollywood quality movies in terms of production values, and it is more accessible to people who want to try to create a body of work in film. And so
it is. Yeah, it is. You're right. It is more accessible. I mean, you can edit on a laptop now. You can take your film on a plane and edit on a flight. People have done that. Again, the DSLR cameras. Is it a 5D you're talking about, or is it a different one?
Yeah, the 5D.
Okay. The 5D. Lots of people have those cameras. 7D, a very similar one. Even other, Canon Rebels, people are shooting films on those as well.
Right.
And
if you get the 7D, get the firmware upgrade, otherwise the damn thing's going to overheat. That's a little inside baseball for people. Yeah, anyway, go ahead.
And then someone has mentioned in the chat Vimeo on demand. There's a number of new avenues out there for your film once you've shot that film. So you no longer have to try to find that one distributor that's going to take, give you 40% and then charge you all the expenses out of that 40%.
Sure.
They're split. Okay, they're saying that the split for Vimeo is 90-10. They take 10, the filmmaker gets 90.
Right.
But that's just one. There's a ton of online avenues for distribution. If I can shout out to somebody else, Gumroad. I think it's gumroad.com. There is a documentary that I'm in called Brave New Souls. Brave New Souls, Black Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers of the 21st Century by Brandon Easton.
Okay.
He interviews myself, Robert Roach, Anthony Montgomery, Erica Alexander, and Tony Puryear, Jeffrey Thorne, Danny Dixon, Joseph Illich, John Jennings, Nnedi Okorafor, Nora Jemison. I think I've probably forgotten somebody. Robert Alexander. And I think I may have tried to say, I don't know if I got everybody, but it's all about Black science fiction and fantasy writers. Mm-hmm. And but the point was that's for sale on Gumroad. There's also Amazon CreateSpace, where you can put books up there. You can also do your videos up there.
Sure. And for publishing, I mean, books, they're the accessibility with self-publishing has never been greater.
Exactly.
So even though a lot fewer people are reading books these days, it's much easier to get your work out there. The problem is, of course, which is legion, is can you write a compelling piece of work that will attract attention? And that's the same thing with film.
It is.
And that's the thing. In the final analysis, it's still storytelling. And the fact that we've got when Scott writes, he wants to write a compelling story, but it happens to have black characters in it. I think that's the key to quality, because I have a hard time with somebody saying, well, I wrote a black story. Well, what do you mean it was a black story?
What is a black story?
Exactly. You know, is it just a story that happens to have black people in it, or is it something in there that heralds it as a, you know, something that is so uniquely black? You know, oh, you know, I was a runaway slave and they cut half my foot off. Okay, that's probably a black story. But something other than that, you know, what does that really mean? When you guys are looking at kind of, you've got this one property, you've got this one creative universe, and you mentioned that you have other projects that you're working on. Are you going to get to the point where you're going to be like your own studio house, where you've got a number of different intellectual properties that are filling the ether, you know, however you get distribution? Are you, you know,
that is my goal. That is my personal goal.
Right.
As far as Scott and I together, we haven't necessarily had that conversation. I know he's got other projects he's working on. He's got a web series called Trouble Man that he's got in development. Sounds like it's going to be exciting. We haven't really discussed, like, you know, collaborating beyond CV Nation. You know, I'm sure that will happen. It's just we haven't actually had that actual discussion. But yeah, definitely my goal is to have my own studio, if you will. So I have my actual title, because I have a company, Mythkeeper Corporation, and my actual title on my card is Senior Director, Film and Publishing.
Okay.
So I mean, I want to do comic books. I want to do film, and again, as I said, I'm writing a novel. He's a Black Luke Skywalker.
Wait, you said you're writing a novel about the Black Luke Skywalker?
I'm writing a novel. The character is, you know, the elevator pitch for the character is he's a Black Luke Skywalker.
Okay. No, I mean, that's a great log line. And just timing wise, you know, how are you moving forward on that? How quick do you think that novel might actually come out?
It's gonna be a while. Right now, I'm working on a short story version of it to sort of flesh out some ideas, and we'll continue. You know, I'll continue forward from there. It's like being able to subdivide your time. You know, after you get home from work, you know, and all the various things that you've got to do, and then take time to work on something creative.
Yeah, well, you know, I'm like you. I have a real job. It doesn't look like it, but I do IT work as well, and I do business consulting. But one of the things that I did, and I established this when I wrote my first book, because I realized after meeting a lot of writers say, yeah, I'm writing a book, and I go, really, how far along are you? Well, I'm not that far. And I go, well, when do you work on it? Well, it's really hard. I have all of the, the same distractions you and I have. And it is tough to get into that mindset. And one of the things that I did that was very successful for me was every night at 10 p.m. when I'm in full-on writing mode, when I'm working on a novel, every night at 10 p.m. I stop whatever I'm doing and I get on the computer and I either write or edit. And I go from maybe 10 to 2. So I have a part-time job. My writing is my part-time job. And by treating it like a part-time job, I have gotten to the point now where I can write a 225,000-word novel in a matter of 5 or 6 months. Okay, so that's 500 pages. That's a 500-page novel in 5 or 6 months. At first, I thought that was crazy, but then you know how it is when you can devote your time like that, and that's a tough thing to do, because
that is. I am actually going to have to give. I've never thought about it in those terms. The exact term of it's a part-time job, meaning that you've got to be to work, you've got to be at work at this time. I've never thought about it in those terms, and
it has worked for me. I mean, last 2 books I did, one took 5 months, one took 6 months, and they were both about 500 pages. So I mean that's a tip that I give other people, because all of these other people who I talk to who say I'm working on a book. Really? Okay, so how far along are you? Well, I'm not very far along, and they give the same story. You know, it's the same thing you and I run into. We have lives, and we have to, you know, we have to make money, we have to pay bills, we have to assure people that we're not going to go postal because we're crazy, or you know what I mean, by having that kind of creative bent and being obsessed, because in a lot of ways writing is an obsession, because it's not a normal endeavor for people. You know, it's not the usual thing. I mean, when I wrote my first novel, when I wrote the last few words, I stood up and I was dizzy because I was shocked, because I wrote a novel, and it freaked me out. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. It freaked me out. I was supposed to play tennis, 2 hours later, and I'm on the tennis court and the ball's flying past me, and people going, what's wrong with you? And I said, well, I wrote a book. Because it is. It's a different mindset. So, I mean, feel free to take my experience. I mean, but if you do treat it as a part-time job,
I am going to. That's of all the various things that I've tried. Actually, that particular thought process I've not actually entered into. So, that's different. That's new. That's something to try.
If I can add to that, the only other thing that I would add, just on the basis of my own experience, is that when you write, when you are a writer, the reason why you're writing is to make money. And I've had people argue with me about that, which is just damn foolishness, because here's the deal. If you're not writing to make money, then you're writing a diary. Okay?
Yes.
If you have the intention of publishing, and you really have good stories in you, or you believe that you have good stories in you, then you're writing to make money, and it is a job. And that was the thing that made me flip my mind to believe that it is a part-time job. So, take it for what it's worth, but it's worked well for me.
Okay.
Have you written? Now I know you mostly do the production side of, CV Nation series, but have you mentioned you talked about some of the plots or some of the storylines or maybe even some of the action. Have you penned anything yourself, or is that really not your role?
You can't see me doing the air quotes, but I'm working on an episode.
Okay.
No, I am working on an episode. It is mostly written. There's an action sequence that is actually killing me right now. Every time I sit down to write it, I sat down a while back to write the action sequence, and it turned into two talking heads. And I may eventually just forego the action sequence and keep the two talking heads and go with that. But that's where I am on that episode. Other things that I've written, I have a science fiction, it's a big, huge, epic adventure called The Hand of El Tahine. It's a feature script that I've written. I may do that. I'm dabbling in CG animation. I may actually do that animated. We'll see. And then back in the day, and I recount this story in the documentary, but I wrote a Wonder Woman feature film. And I actually sent it to DC, and it came right back.
Yeah, it's tough. See, here I will say this. I don't know if you have much experience with the publishing industry, but the catch-22 that, oh man, I'll tell you right now that agents get really pissed when you say this. But the catch-22 in the publishing industry is you can't get a publisher unless you have an agent, because, publishers won't talk to authors. Authors are crazy, and they also don't know the rules. And you can't. And the thing is, you can't get an agent unless you've already published, because agents don't want to do that heavy lift. Oh, I have somebody who needs to be discovered. How do I get them out there? And that's a tough push to try to bring a new person on. So, my advice is, yes, try to get an agent, or you're going to end up, self-publishing. or making the mistake like I did by having a plot that is not even subliminally controversial. When you talk about advanced black folks on the moon who have technology that Americans don't have, I truly, nobody said it to my face, but I truly believe that, Warner Brothers, HarperCollins, Tor, Penguin, they're all thinking the same thing. Let's see how this boy prosecutes, and I'm just saying boy, just him, prosecutes this story because, he could be crazy. And he could have all these black. Well, he could. I mean, the dude's a Japanegro. We don't know what that is. We don't know what to expect from him, and we certainly don't know how to stereotype his ass. What, he likes red beans and rice? What, sweet and sour chitlins? So anyway, they're going to go. Well, let's wait and see how he writes, because is he militant? Is he crazy? Is this commercial? Can we sell it? And that's the equation that they always throw at you. They know when they read your book, when they read your manuscript, if it gets to a publisher, they know almost to the 5,000s how many copies your book is going to sell, because they're very good at what they do. And since they know that, they're going, oh, this story falls into this niche. They will have this audience. Therefore, we will probably make X on this book. And more often than not, they're like actuaries. They know exactly what they're talking about. Stephen King could crap out a book. Just squat down, crap out a book, and they'll tell you exactly how many copies he's going to sell of that book. It could be the worst book in the world. So there are trials and tribulations to publishing. Some of them I like, some of them I endure, some of them I hate with a passion. But it's not going to stop me from doing it. And, for you're going to run into probably some of these same things. But hopefully the thing that's going to maybe tip it in and give you some edge is the fact that you're associated with CV Nation.
Yeah.
And they'll go, the producer of CV Nation. And those are some pretty compelling marketing words to put on it. So, I mean, honest to God, man, I wish you the best in doing that.
Thank you.
Because it's not easy out there. And like I said, we have a population that is reading less and less. And that's a tough thing. So the thing that I think CV Nation, my books, anything, comics, especially comics, that I think that the best thing that comics are going to do is they're going to keep our young interested in reading. But only if we write compelling stories. Only if we can put together compelling content. Because we have to grow our audience. We have to grow our audience and maintain our audience, because it's not going to happen by itself. So that's something that I think people have to think about. When you write, you have to decide, well, who is this geared toward, and how am I going to get them to be interested and maintain that interest? So, go ahead.
One of the things that I want to, as far as the the projects that I'm doing, following up on CV Nation, something that I'm doing myself. Jarrell Sunstormer, that's the Black Luke Skywalker character I mentioned, the Hand of El Taheen, any of the other projects that I'm doing. My audience is not a black audience. My audience is a sci-fi audience.
That's right. That's exactly right.
That's who my audience is.
Right. And I think that that's something that a lot of people who write niche science fiction, black science fiction, forget, is that if your story is good and it just happens to have black characters, then there should be some crossover appeal. And I think that there's a mistake with saying, well, I'm just strictly going to write for a black audience. Because you've already diminished your audience by 85%.
Exactly. I can remember back in the day when I'd be traveling on planes, doing IT, going someplace to do IT for something, and I'm working on the Sunstormer story on the plane, and the person next to me, they see me writing, and they're going, what is this? And I tell them about it, and they're like, oh, okay, because at the time it was going to be a film. It will eventually still be a film, but right now I'm working on the novel. And they were like, oh, well, who are you going to sell that to? And I'm like, I'm not going to sell this. If I sell it to the studio, they're going to put Brad Pitt in it. I'm like, I'm going to make it myself. And it always impressed them when I said that. But that's kind of my goal.
So many people just do it for the money. And if they just do it for the money, then they want to sell that option and take their money and move along. And I think that one of the things that, we've mentioned earlier, especially, Scott mentioned, is that we want to create our own distribution channel. We want to create our own audience and to be able to do things that are significant to our people but still tell compelling stories that other people want to read, want to watch, whatever. Look, man, I told you at the beginning 2 hours would fly by. Does it seem like it was 2 hours?
It does not. It does not. Wow.
But I really want to thank, Dewayne, I want to thank you for hanging around and actually being on the show. This is Dewayne Copeland, still here. And then Scott Evans was here earlier, but he had other things that he had, other obligations he had to take care of. And
so that was his secret identity. The trouble alert came on, and he had to go handle something.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, I want to thank everybody who listened. I would like to always remind you that this show is every Friday or most every Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern. I want to thank our special guest for being here. And if Jarvis will jump on, I'm going to let him take us out. Otherwise, his system is tripping, he says, so he can't do this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to thank you once again. And let me remind you of this. When you have significant things that are happening, and also come to the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com as a writer, because there are a lot of people there who might be able to encourage you and help you out in your path toward being a published author. There are a lot of people who hang out online. There's a lot of helpful.
There's 9 people online now.
Yeah, and then the other thing is, whenever you guys are going to be at any conventions, or if you're going to be doing any personal appearances, or you have a milestone coming, like another episode is coming, please post it up at the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website so that other people can check you out. Like, let's say you're going to be someplace for a weekend. If you post that up, people who may be in the area will be able to meet you in person from the membership. So take a look at the site, take a look at the forums, take a look at the calendar, and I hope we see you around there. And since Jarvis is... Oh, go ahead.
I've actually got some CG art up on the site.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are people from all over. I mean, all over the world. Like right now, we have a listener who's checking us out from Kenya.
Yeah, I saw that. Guest 22.
Yeah. So there is a wealth of talent just waiting to meet and interact with you. So on behalf of Jarvis, whose computer is tripping, on behalf of the BlackScienceFictionSociety.com website, this is the Genesis Science Fiction Radio Show, a weekly event. I mean, this is pretty cool. I get to meet some very, very interesting people. And, again, Dewayne, thanks very much for hanging out, man.
Thank you.
So I will, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to give a dead airspace here so that they can cut the show. And then hang on for a couple seconds. We have a little afterward talk, and we'll do that. So thank you, 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 and we'll do that. So